Chapter 11 What Holy Land? Never heard of that. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nobody could believe their ears. Mu Yen didn't want the rewards. Didn't he realize how awesome they were? The young guys in the Mu family were practically salivating. They were dying to take Mu Yan's place and snatch those goodies. With stuff like that, their power would skyrocket. Such a sweet deal, and Mu Yen was just turning up his nose. The elders were equally shocked. Why was he rejecting these treasures? He should be ecstatic, right? Why didn't he seem to care? He actually looked disgusted. The great elder was baffled. He himself would have loved to get his hands on those treasures, let alone a junior like Mu Yen, or was Mu Yen just playing hardball, trying to squeeze them for even more? That seemed possible, and the great elder's eyes narrowed, but since Mu Yen was the champion and the future of the Mu family was at stake, he said, Mu Yen, you think these treasures aren't enough? These are part of the family's legacy. Don't get greedy and take what you can get. I'll throw in another 1,000 spiritual stones. That the great elder started with a gentle warning, then sweetened the pot. Everyone gasped. 1,000 spiritual stones was a serious chunk of change. Back when Mu Yen was the Mu family's golden boy, his annual allowance was only 500. 1,000 stones all at once. Unheard of. Even Mu Lei looked at Mu Yen expectantly, wanting to nudge him to take the deal. The great elder rarely coughed up that kind of dough, and this might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But to Mu Yen, the so-called bonus just made the championship title and rewards seem even more of a joke. I'm a disciple of Kunlun Holy Land. Don't embarrass yourselves with this garbage. Champion? Rewards? I don't give a damn. Mu Yen laughed, not even trying to be polite to the great elder. His second rejection was beyond belief. Were these rewards really that bad? What would it take to impress him? The first elder and the others were fuming, convinced that this kid was just messing with them. Then what would make you happy? The great elder's beard was practically vibrating with rage. Mu Yen laughed, then said, I came back today to make a statement, and I've done that. He'd accomplished what he set out to do, completely flipping everyone's perception of him. Looking at their faces, he could feel their fear, confusion, envy, jealousy, and even their attempts to suck up to him. That was enough. Yenner, where are you going? Mu Lei called out anxiously. Mu Yen said, Dad, I'm training at Kunlun Holy Land now. I need to head back there to continue my cultivation. Kunlun Holy Land. Mu Lei frowned, confused. He'd never heard of them, but everyone else was murmuring in surprise. A holy land? That was the pinnacle of power in the wild immortal world. Every place called a holy land was founded by an immortal emperor. You had to be a one-of-a-kind genius to even get in. Now that he was a member, could the Mu family ride his coattails to success? Suddenly, the first elder and the others, who'd been cold and impatient, were all smiles and flattery. The young guys in the Mu family were overflowing with admiration. Mu Kun might be strong, but he'd never get into a holy land. Mu Yen was different. He was destined to be the Mu family's brightest star, famous throughout the Huangxian realm, the Dongxing continent, and the entire wild immortal world. Holy Land. You're in a holy land. Where is this Kunlun Holy Land? Mu Lei hadn't heard of it, but he figured he was just out of the loop. If it was called a holy land, it had to be amazing, right? The great elder and the others were smiling and fawning, a complete 180 from before. Mu Yen raised his head proudly. Kunlun Holy Land is in our Huangxian realm. It's still up and coming, but it will soon be famous in the world of Huangxian. Something didn't sound right to Mu Lei. What holy land was located in the Huangxian realm? And just getting started? After hearing the truth, Mu Lei's expression was complicated. He was starting to think his son had been conned. Holy lands were founded by immortal emperors and had been famous from the start. None of them started as a small sect. Calling it a holy land was just a way to fool people, right? The great elder and the others finally caught on. This Kunlun Holy Land was just some new sect, right? They'd thought it was some superior, transcendent power. How ridiculous. No wonder I haven't heard of it. It's still up and coming, that the great elder laughed sarcastically, finding it ironic that he'd been trying to suck up to Mu Yen moments ago. The second elder asked angrily, Mu Yen, if your Kunlun Holy Land is so amazing, it must be huge, right? How many disciples do you have? Mu Yen knew what they were getting at, but he didn't care. Having his master in Kunlun Holy Land was the only confidence he needed. Right now, I'm the only disciple, and the top disciple at that. Mu Yen said proudly. The great elder and the others burst out laughing, practically crying from how hard they were laughing. Ha ha ha, just you. That's a holy land. A holy land with one disciple. Talk about terrifying scale, ha ha ha. I'm dying. What an amazing holy land. Awesome, that the elders were laughing uncontrollably, and the entire Mu family was joining in. They looked at Mu Yen like he was a joke. They thought the Kunlun Holy Land was some powerhouse, but it was just a tiny sect with one disciple. Seriously? Yener, how does your Kunlun Holy Land compare to the Jinyu Sect? Mu Lei asked cautiously. The Golden Jade Sect was a powerful sect in the Huangxian realm. The leader had reached the void refining stage and had tens of thousands of disciples. He asked because Mu Yan's fiancé was a core disciple of the Jinyu Sect. If the Kunlun Holy Land was far weaker, Mu Yan and his fiancé would grow further apart. In a few years, they might be from different worlds. Chapter 12. Want to break off the engagement? Reversed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hearing that, Mu Yen scoffed. The Golden Jade Sect. Compared to my Kunlun Holy Land, they're nothing but ants. That he could talk like that because he had complete faith in his master's incredible power. His master had turned his natural fire spirit root into a holy fire spirit body, and could conjure up an entire rolling palace complex with a wave of his hand. That alone proved his master was truly unfathomable. Besides, his master tossed around emperor-level exercises like they were nothing, which showed just how little those exercises meant to him. The Golden Jade Sect. Please. Even the holy places that had been around for millions, even tens of millions of years, weren't that generous. Comparing some podunk sect to Kunlun Holy Land? That was an insult to the Kunlun Holy Land. Ha! I hope you're right. But word on the street is your fiancé, Guing Luo, is already a big shot over at the Jinyu Sect, a core disciple with serious clout. And get this, some high-ranking somebody's son in the Jinyu Sect has the hots for your Guing Luo. The Gu family's practically begging for them to get together. Your reputation as a loser has made them completely give up on you. I'm hearing from the Gu family that Guing Luo's bringing this VIP son to the Mu family in a few days to call off the engagement. That the great elder's smile was dripping with mockery. He knew Mu Yen resented the Mu family and didn't consider himself one of them anymore. Why not just sit back and watch Mu Yen try to take on the Golden Jade Sect? Mu Yen could brag all he wanted about Kunlun Holy Land, but he didn't believe for a second that it could hold a candle to the Jinyu Sect. Sure enough, Mu Yan's face fell when he heard the news. He and Guing Luo had always been close, but ever since he became a useless person, the Gu family, while Guing Luo hadn't said it, was already turning against him. Last year, Guing Luo had managed to get into the Jinyu Sect and become a core disciple. The Gu family started looking down on Mu Yen even more. But he never expected Guing Luo would come to break off the engagement. That's impossible. Ing Luo and I are forever. Mu Yen said angrily. The great elder burst out laughing. Just you wait, the engagement's as good as cancelled in a few days. Seeing his gloating face, Mu Yen clenched his fists, furious. If anyone could shake him up, it was his father and Ing Luo. Fine. I'll wait. I don't believe Ing Luo actually wants to break things off with me. Mu Yen declared. Thousands of miles from the Mu family, a ridiculously fancy airship was headed straight for them. 4 blue-scaled eagles with massive wings were pulling the airship. They were as strong as anyone in the foundation building stage. Wherever the airship went, it attracted attention. Plenty of shady characters had their eyes on that ship, but when they saw the 4 foundation building eagles, they thought twice. And when they spotted the Jinyu Sect symbol on the side of the airship, anyone who thought about robbing them backed off. In the Huangxian realm, the Jinyu Sect was a force to be reckoned with, and the leader was strong enough to be in the void refining stage. The Jinyu Sect had been around for tens of thousands of years and had deep roots. Rumor had it that the forbidden area behind the Jinyu Sect held several ancestors who were even more terrifying. Judging by the airship's extravagance, it must have been carrying some high-ranking members of the sect. Anyone who dared to mess with them was asking for a death wish. Inside the airship were a man and a woman. The man was handsome and imposing, and the woman seemed to be made of starlight, radiating a faint glow like an angel. Luo, this third-grade red blood pill can boost qi and blood, and it's amazing for building up your body. I pulled some strings to get it from the vault. The man took out a pill and offered it to Luo, but Luo was icy. She didn't even look at him. Jin Hao, you don't need to give me something so precious. The man was named Jin Hao, and he was the Jinyu Sect leader's son. Luo couldn't stand Jin Hao, but she couldn't let it show too much. When she became a core disciple of the Jinyu Sect, she thought she was on her way to the top, but it turned out to be the start of a nightmare. Jin Hao had fallen for her and constantly harassed her, taking advantage of his status. She had turned him down, but he didn't give up. Instead, he got worse, claiming that she was already his woman. Luo was disgusted and had told him not to talk nonsense, but it did no good. Within the Jinyu Sect, everyone had already accepted that she was Jin Hao's girl. What made it even worse was that her family knew, and instead of supporting her, they asked her to try to please Jin Hao. They had even pressured her to come to Mu's house to call off the engagement. Even though Luo didn't want to, under the pressure from both the Jinyu Sect and her family, she had no choice but to go along with it. I wonder how Mu Yan is doing now. Is he okay? Thinking of the former genius turning into a nobody, she knew it must have hit the proud young man hard. Luo felt bad for him, but there was nothing she could do. When Jin Hao saw Luo's cold attitude, he knew she must be thinking about that trash again. Luo, you're a core disciple, your future is bright. You might even become a big shot in the sect. Some people just aren't good enough for you. But I'm different. I can always be there for you, and I can even give you a higher status. Your family's right to have you call off the engagement. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. Jin Hao said softly, with total confidence. He had heard about Luo and that trash she used to be with. Even if Mu Yan wasn't a loser, Jin Hao wouldn't have given him the time of day. How could some kid from a backwater family compare to him? Luo didn't respond. She needed to find a way to tell Mu Yan that even if she left the Jinyu Sect, she wouldn't break off the engagement with him. Jin Hao didn't push it. He was used to her indifference, but his desire to get rid of Mu Yan was stronger than ever. If we just kill that kid, what's Luo gonna do? She'll have to get in line. Maybe it'd be easier to just wipe out the whole Mu family, that he thought to himself. Jin Hao's golden core aura kept pulsing out, making Luo terrified. Jin Hao was only 20 years old and already at the golden elixir stage, even if he had the help of all the Jinyu Sect's resources, but he was still naturally talented. Luo grew even more worried. Mu Yan's no match for Jin Hao. What can I do to protect him? Luo was distraught. She had never felt so helpless. After a long trip, they finally arrived at the Mu family. Four powerful green-scaled eagles appeared in the sky above the Mu family, pulling a huge luxury airship, alarming everyone. The moment they arrived, Mu Yan, who was cultivating at the Mu family, felt a familiar aura. It was his fiancée. So, she's here. Luo, what's your choice? Mu Yan stood up and left the room, heading outside. Chapter 13. Should we bear the wrath of the Jinyu Sect? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Outside, Jin Hao and Luo showed up, immediately drawing the attention of everyone in the Mu family. They instantly recognized Luo, Mu Yan's fiancé. A shocked hush fell over the crowd. The great elder's earlier claims must be true. Luo had brought someone to call off the engagement, and was the guy next to her the son of some bigwig from the Jinyu Sect? Well, this was about to get interesting. Jin Hao scanned the area with a sneer. making it clear he thought the Mu family was beneath him. Compared to the Jinyu Sect, the Mu family was nothing. The Jinyu Sect's main halls were more luxurious than this entire place. He pinched his nose dramatically. Let's wrap this up. This place reeks of poverty, and I can't stand it. An old guy next to them barked, the young master of the Jinyu Sect is here. Where's the Mu family head to greet him? The great elder and a bunch of others practically tripped over themselves rushing out, plastering on these sickeningly sweet smiles. Welcome, young master of the Jinyu Sect. Your presence is an honor for our Mu family. I am from the Mu family. The great elder was practically scraping the floor with his face, but Jin Hao just waved a hand, cutting him off with a look of disgust. Alright, enough with the pleasantries. I'm here to settle the engagement between Ying Luo and your Mu family. Get it through your heads. Gu Yingluo's face went white. She frantically searched the crowd for Mu Yan, but he was nowhere to be seen. The great elder's wrinkly face was stretched into a grotesque grin. Of course. Of course. It's a blessing that this girl, Ying Luo, has caught your eye. The Mu family has no right to interfere. We have no objection to calling off the engagement. Great elder. Where's Mu Yan? Where is he? I need to find him. Gu Yingluo's voice was panicked. She needed to talk to Mu Yan face to face. Mu Yan. The great elder clearly didn't like hearing that name. Just then, a wave of heat rolled over the group. Mu Yan stepped forward, his face composed, though a flicker of pain hid in his eyes. Ying Luo, you want to call off the engagement? Is that what you want? Mu Yan's voice was cold. Gu Yingluo finally smiled when she saw him. Mu Yan, that's not what I want. I never agreed to end the engagement. Hearing those words, Mu Yan's heart finally settled. If Ying Luo's feelings hadn't changed, then he was ready to take on the whole world for her. But Jin Hao was furious. He glared at Gu Yingluo, his face contorted with rage. Seeing her face light up like that, his hatred for her and his urge to kill Mu Yan intensified. He'd thrown countless resources and expensive elixirs at her, and he still couldn't even get her to crack a smile. She hadn't given him the time of day. But she was practically glowing just because this nobody from the Mu family showed up. What a bitch. Once he got his hands on her, he'd break her, turn her into his personal toy, make her beg for his attention every single day. That's what happened when you pissed off Jin Hao. But first, he had to deal with the Mu family. Jin Hao looked down his nose at the young man. He didn't sense any particularly strong energy coming from him. He could crush him like an ant. You're Mu Yan. I'd advise you to be smart and not cause trouble. You don't want to feel the wrath of the Jinyu Sect. Jin Hao warned him. Mu Yan didn't look intimidated at all. Instead, he gave Jin Hao an interested look and asked, "Oh, really? Is the Jinyu Sect's wrath supposed to be so scary?" Jin Hao's eyes flashed with anger. Why don't you find out? As he said it, his own power exploded outward. He had reached the second level of the Golden Core stage. The terrifying display made everyone in the Mu family flinch. Was this the kind of power the Jinyu Sect commanded? Yenner. Mu Lei couldn't help but worry. He knew his son had reached the Golden Core stage, but he seemed to be only at the first level. How could he stand a chance against Jin Hao? Plus, Jin Hao came from the wealthy Jinyu Sect. He would have access to all sorts of advanced techniques and secrets. Mu Yan was already at a huge disadvantage. The great elder and the others were freaking out. They didn't care about Mu Yan's life, but if he made Jin Hao angry, would the Mu family suffer? Jin Hao. I don't want to break off the engagement, and I don't want to be with you. Can't you just let me go? Seeing Jin Hao was serious, Gu Yingluo pleaded. Jin Hao sneered at her. Gu Yingluo, are you stupid? You think you have a say in this? Every single person in the Gu family wants to use you to get in good with the Jinyu Sect. You think they'll let you call off the engagement? On top of that, you're defying me and the entire Jinyu Sect. Can you handle the consequences? Jin Hao's words made Gu Yingluo pale. It wasn't like she hadn't thought about it, but hearing him lay it all out so brutally made her feel even more helpless. Was there no way to stop the engagement from being called off? The Gu family and the Jinyu Sect were putting on too much pressure. The Gu family would suffer the Jinyu Sect's wrath, and Mu Yen would be dragged down with them, wouldn't he? She stared at Mu Yen, lost for words. Seeing everyone silent, Jin Hao grinned smugly. When you had absolute power, things like integrity and true love were nothing but a joke. He smirked at Mu Yen, waiting for him to crack, but instead of giving in, Mu Yen just narrowed his eyes. For some reason, that intense gaze made Jin Hao flinch. He took a step back before he could help it. The fact that some loser had scared him only made him even more enraged. I've been nice enough, but you're asking for it. Don't blame me for what happens next. Jin Hao roared, throwing his arms wide. His power exploded, a storm of energy blasting in every direction. The terrifying force made some of the younger members of the Mu family buckle, their legs turning to jelly. So that's what the second level of the Golden Core stage was like. Only Mu Yen stood firm, unmoving as a mountain in the face of the storm. Chapter 14 The Divine Flame of the Heavenly Emperor, an instant kill with one move. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I'll spare your life if you can survive what I'm about to do to you. Jin Hao roared, his face contorted in a violent laugh. Mu Yen didn't flinch at his arrogance and murderous intent. His eyes just grew colder, hardening into something razor-sharp. Jin Hao had to die. A Golden Core stage, level 2. To be that advanced at his age, taking out Mu Yen should be a piece of cake. The first and second elders were practically giddy with anticipation. Mu Yen was a lost cause to the family. Better to let Jin Hao eliminate him than have him become an enemy later. After all, no matter how tough Mu Yen was, he couldn't possibly be tougher than Jin Hao. And the kid actually thinks his Kunlun Holy Land can compete with the Golden Jade Sect? What an idiot. Ha ha ha. The second elder openly sneered at the Kunlun Holy Land. Seeing his son in danger, Mu Lei grew anxious, ready to jump in and protect him, but Zhang Lao, who had been silent until now, stopped him. Mu Lei looked at Zhang Lao, confused. He knew this guy came with Mu Yen and must be some elder from his sect, but Zhang Lao hadn't said a word the entire time, and they hadn't exchanged a single glance. Why was he stopping him now? Just watch, Zhang Lao said calmly. Mu Lei didn't get it. Yenner was in trouble. Why stop him? But the guy seemed serious. Was he planning to intervene? Holding back his anxiety, Mu Lei decided to wait and see. Careful, Mu Yen. He's using the Jinyu Sect's most powerful technique, the Purple Sun Treasure Art. It's a king-level technique, incredibly strong. Guing Luo called out the warning. Everyone in the Mu family gasped. Purple Sun Treasure Art. King level. Their family's highest level techniques were Xian level. A technique that much higher was bound to be overwhelmingly powerful. Monks at the same level, the one with the better technique wins. And king-level techniques were the best of the best. The younger members of the Mu family watching from a distance held their breath, silent. Mu Tingting and Mu Kun were the most conflicted. They were considered the strongest in the Mu family, but against Jin Hao, they wouldn't even stand a chance. Jin Hao showed them what it meant to be outmatched, to see a world beyond their own, especially Mu Kun. All his pride felt worthless next to Jin Hao. A twisted, almost feral smile spread across his face. Fight. Kill Mu Yen. I hope he kills him. Mu Kun was practically vibrating with anticipation. He wanted Mu Yen dead, preferably at Jin Hao's hands. He couldn't wait to see the bloodbath. While everyone was lost in their own thoughts, Jin Hao struck. He unleashed a barrage of punches, the air itself roaring as if about to tear apart. His powerful spiritual energy surged into a series of brutal blows aimed right at Mu Yen. The force was so terrifying that even the Golden Core experts in the Mu family were shocked. Was this really just level 2 Golden Core? Unbelievable. Seeing the punches, Guing Luo cried out, it's the Blazing Sun Fist. A king-level technique. Even those unfamiliar with the Blazing Sun Fist knew that if it was king-level, it had to be devastating. When Jin Hao used the Blazing Sun Fist, his fists transformed into two blinding golden suns. they radiated unbelievable heat and destructive power. Not bad. Facing the incoming fists, Mu Yen didn't dodge. Instead, a golden flame erupted around him. The flame flowed like liquid, rapidly covering his body, solidifying into golden flame armor. This was the flame born from the flame god art, the Heavenly Emperor divine flame, one of the most explosive and terrifying flames in existence. A single spark of the Heavenly Emperor divine flame could incinerate mountains, boil the seas, and destroy everything. While his current strength didn't allow him to unleash its full destructive potential, it was more than enough to deal with Jin Hao. Boom! Jin Hao's fists, packed with immense power, slammed into Mu Yen, creating a deafening explosion. Everyone stared, waiting to see Mu Yen reduced to a bloody pulp, but what they saw left them stunned, questioning their own sanity. Mu Yen stood there, untouched. His body was covered in a layer of golden armor that radiated intense heat, warping the air around him. What the hell? The first and second elders couldn't believe it. Jin Hao was so strong. How could he not even break Mu Yan's defense? Where did that golden armor come from? Mu Kun, Mu Tingting, and the others were equally shocked. They had felt the raw destructive power in Jin Hao's attacks. If that punch had landed on them, 10 lives wouldn't be enough. They'd thought Mu Yen would be instantly obliterated. Instead, he was completely unharmed. Jin Hao's face was a mask of disbelief. He knew how powerful the blazing sun fist was. A single punch could kill an opponent of equal strength with ease. Why did it have no effect on Mu Yen? Could it be that this kid was stronger than him? No. Impossible. He was the pride of the Jinyu Sect, the strongest young cultivator around. How could this nobody compare? Jin Hao refused to accept it. Something had to be wrong. Fueled by frustration, he threw another, even stronger punch, pouring every ounce of spiritual energy into it, creating 2 blazing suns that crashed into Mu Yen with world-ending force. Mu Yen, his expression still cold, simply said, "A parlor trick." Then, casually raising his right hand, he unleashed a burst of golden, scorching spiritual power from the center of his palm, condensing it into a 30-foot-long hand that slammed forward. The massive golden hand struck the 2 miniature suns, and the resulting collision unleashed an earth-shattering explosion. The deafening roar ripped through the air, and a golden shockwave expanded outwards. If the elders of the Mu family hadn't intervened, many of the younger members and much of the surrounding architecture would have been destroyed. Even with the protection, Mu Kun and the others were terrified, faces ashen, collapsing to the ground. Jin Hao's expression was savage. He felt his attacks being completely overwhelmed by an even greater power. Panic and despair gripped him. He opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out. The all-consuming flames engulfed him, devouring the spiritual energy in his body. Under this irresistible force, Jin Hao's broken body flew through the air like a ragdoll, smashing through several walls before finally coming to a rest. He lay buried beneath the rubble, life or death unknown. Silence descended on the scene. Everyone's eyes were wide with fear and disbelief. Chapter 15 Zhang Lao 4 takes action. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Everyone whipped their heads around to where Jin Hao had dropped, but he was just lying there, still and silent. Nobody knew what had happened. Young master, the old guy who'd been with him shrieked, appearing in a flash beside the debris and hauling Jin Hao's body out. Everyone's eyes went wide. The Jin Hao who'd been so arrogant just moments ago was now a charred husk, completely lifeless. If they hadn't known it was him, they'd have thought it was the burnt-up corpse of some homeless guy. Dead? Jin Hao's actually dead. The head elder, second elder, and the other top family officials stared at Mu Yen, who was just standing there, calm as could be, looking way more impressive than the loudmouth Jin Hao. It was unbelievable. This guy who was supposed to be a loser had taken down the Jinyu Sect star player with one move and straight up killed him. That was some serious power. When had he gotten so strong? Mu Lei was in disbelief. He'd figured his son, just barely getting into the golden core stage, was nowhere near as strong as Jin Hao, who was already at the second level, but what Mu Yen had just done proved him wrong. And he felt a huge wave of pride and satisfaction. His son wasn't a loser after all. He was a super genius who could beat the Jinyu Sect. Who was gonna say anything bad about his son now? Look at Jin Hao, that's what happens. The muscles in Mu Kuan's face were twitching. He'd never seen this coming. Jin Hao was supposed to be so strong, how could he lose to Mu Yen? And get killed by him? Damn it, was the Jinyu Sect's genius really that useless? He couldn't deal with this. He'd wanted to see Mu Yen get stomped into the ground by Jin Hao, so he could finally get some payback. Mu Kuan was pissed and frustrated. If Jin Hao couldn't beat Mu Yen, who could? Mu Tingting just stared at Mu Yen, stunned, feeling a pang of regret and bitterness like never before. Did I screw up? If I'd stuck to my guns, could I still be the girl next door to Mu Yen? That the thought hit her hard, and she felt like crying. She really blew it. Mu Yen hadn't even moved. He'd just thrown a single punch and completely wiped out Jin Hao. Even Guing Luo, who'd been on pins and needles, was blown away. Mu Yen. She mumbled, then snapped back to reality and cheered, awesome. You go, Mu Yen. That everyone knew Jin Hao was the real deal in the younger generation of the Jinyu Sect. She'd figured that even before Mu Yen lost his ability to cultivate, he wouldn't have stood a chance against Jin Hao. But now, Mu Yen had taken Jin Hao out with a single punch, and Guing Luo was ecstatic. Turns out her buddy Mu Yen wasn't a loser after all. Only the old guy holding Jin Hao's body was shaking with rage, his eyes bloodshot with hatred. He turned slowly to face Mu Yen, his voice ice cold. You killed my young master. I'm gonna make you pay, and I'm gonna wipe out your entire family. As he spoke, a bone-chilling wave of killing intent washed over the whole Mu family. Dark clouds rolled in, and the world seemed to freeze in place. A terrifying aura poured out of the old man, spreading through the Mu family. Everyone felt like they were covered in venomous snakes. That aura, is that nascent soul level. The head elder, who was already at the peak of the golden core stage, was the strongest guy in the Mu family, but even he was trembling. He knew that if the old man so much as lifted a finger, he'd be as good as dead, like an ant getting crushed by an elephant. I don't think he's just nascent soul stage. We're screwed. The Mu family is in deep trouble. The second elder was white as a sheet, his voice shaking. They'd been too caught up in Mu Yan's power to realize what a huge problem they were in for by killing Jin Hao. Jin Hao was the Jinyu Sect's young master. His death was gonna send shockwaves through the whole sect. Not to mention the whole Jinyu Sect coming after them. This old guy alone was enough to destroy the entire Mu family. The head elder screamed at Mu Yen, you moron, just kill yourself already. Don't bring the Mu family down with you because of your mess. Mu Yen did it. It's not our fault. If you want to kill him, go ahead. We're begging you, sir, please don't hurt us. We had nothing to do with it. The second elder was frantic, trying to put as much distance as possible between himself and Mu Yen. Even Mu Kuan pointed at Mu Yen, his face twisted, and snarled, Mu Yen. Go die already. Don't drag us down with you. Don't be the one who destroys the family. Everyone was desperate to see Mu Yen dead, to cut ties with him. Maybe that was the only way to save themselves. Suddenly, tons of people were yelling at Mu Yen, saying he never should have fought Jin Hao, let alone killed him. If Jin Hao had killed him, no problem. But because he killed Jin Hao, now they were all screwed. Hearing all the accusations and insults, Mu Yen didn't flinch. He almost wanted to laugh. He knew what this so-called family was all about. They're on your side when you're useful. They want you dead when you're not. Did they really think they could save the Mu family by him killing himself? So naive. The moment he killed Jin Hao, the whole Mu family was on the Jinyu Sect's hit list. The old man didn't care about any of that. He looked up and let out a heart-wrenching scream. A fierce wind kicked up, and lightning flashed in the dark clouds. Faced with this overwhelming power, the Mu family had completely lost hope. Mu Lei gritted his teeth, ready to take the old man down with him, giving Mu Yen a chance to escape. It was the only thing he could think of. Elder, it's up to you now. But then, Mu Yen turned to Zhang Lao, who hadn't said a word, and said with a smile. Zhang Lao nodded, and then he vanished. A moment later, he was standing in front of the old man. "Can you stop yelling?" Zhang Lao asked, sounding annoyed. He casually raised his hand and tapped the old man on the head. The old man was consumed by rage. He was about to kill this guy who just popped up in front of him, but he was horrified to find that all his power was completely locked down. He couldn't even blink. His eyes went from rage to pure panic. Anyone who could freeze him like that, unable to use any power at all, was definitely a super expert way beyond nascent soul, probably at least someone in the divine transformation stage, maybe even at the peak. When did a powerhouse like that show up in a dump like the Mu family? He didn't get a chance to beg for mercy. Zhang Lao's palm tapped his head. It was as casual as smacking a watermelon, but that simple tap completely snuffed out the life of a peak nascent soul master. Chapter 16 Return to Kunlun Holy Land. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old guy dropped like a sack of potatoes, and all his mojo just vanished. Everyone's jaws hit the floor. A nascent soul powerhouse could have wiped out the Mu family, but his death seemed way too easy, right? That's Jin Hao's personal bodyguard. He's got to be at least an 8th level nascent soul, late stage. Gu Yingluo gasped, covering her mouth. As a top disciple of the Jinyu Sect, she knew exactly what that old man was capable of. He was handpicked by the sect leader. Usually, he'd be Jin Hao's servant, but in a pinch, he was his protector. He was seriously strong. But this stranger took him out without even breaking a sweat. Gu Yingluo couldn't help but glance at Mu Yen. She knew this stranger was tight with Mu Yan's brother. Could he be the master he'd brought back? Just dead. The head elder was stunned. As the Mu family's strongest fighter, he felt like an ant next to a nascent soul boss. The aura that guy threw off a minute ago had him convinced the Mu family was toast. Never in a million years did he think a light tap on the head would turn him into a corpse. Everyone in the Mu family stared at Zhang Lao, pure terror in their eyes. So, this quiet stranger was the real deal. Could he have reached godhood? Mu Yen went from being a nobody to a super genius overnight, now capable of taking out Jin Hao in a heartbeat. Was this guy behind it all? The head elder and the others held their breath, scared stiff. What he'd just said was practically a death sentence with Mu Yen. If this big shot got angry, the Mu family would be in even deeper trouble. Mu Kun and the rest were so scared they wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. Mu Lei finally let out a sigh of relief when the crisis ended in a flash. Yenner, could this be the master you've been studying under? Mu Lei asked, beaming. His son knew someone this awesome. He couldn't be prouder. Before Mu Yen could explain who Zhang Lao was, Zhang Lao said seriously, "Don't go saying stuff like that. I'm just a small fish. How could I compare to the sect leader? Next to him, I'm just a drop in the bucket." In his mind, the sect leader was untouchable, his power beyond comprehension. Facing the sect leader was like facing a whole other world, a world that made you feel tiny and insignificant. Mu Yen chuckled and said, "He's just an outer elder from our sect. Why would my master bother himself with something this small?" Mu Lei and Gu Yingluo were even more shocked. Zhang Lao was that powerful, and he wasn't even Mu Yan's master. And he was just an outer elder of the Kunlun Holy Land. Mentioning that sect leader made the mighty Zhang Lao tremble, his voice filled with awe and respect. Everyone couldn't help but wonder, just how strong was this sect leader? Was he in the void refining stage? Or the integration stage? Maybe even the Mahayana stage? Mu Lei and Gu Yingluo were blown away. What kind of luck did Mu Yen have to become a disciple of someone so mysterious and powerful? With the matter settled, Mu Yen took Gu Yingluo's hand and said firmly, "Yingluo, I'm a changed man now. You should come back to the Kunlun Holy Land with me. The Jinyu Sect isn't worth your time anymore." "Okay. Whatever you say, Mu Yen." Gu Yingluo nodded eagerly. As long as she was with Mu Yen, she didn't care where she went. The Jinyu Sect was a dead end for her. With Jin Hao gone, all she'd face was torture if she went back. Why not take this chance to fly away with Mu Yen? Mu Yen led her to his father, Mu Lei, and said, "Dad, come back to the Kunlun Holy Land with me. I'm sure I can get you in with my connections." Mu Lei hesitated. This was the home he'd known for decades, and he still had feelings for it. But when he remembered how the family had turned on his son, even wanting him dead, Mu Lei made up his mind. "There's nothing left for me here. Your mother gave her life for the family 10 years ago. We don't owe them anything." Mu Lei sighed. When Mu Yen looked at the first and second elders, they were shaking like leaves, practically wetting themselves. Luckily, Mu Yen didn't take their lives for the sake of being a good tribesman. He just had Zhang Lao cripple their cultivation. Now, the first and second elders, and Mu Kun, who had been the loudest earlier, were all useless. From now on, you can enjoy what it feels like to be a cripple. Mu Yen glared at them coldly, then led Mu Lei and Gu Yingluo back to the Kunlun Holy Land with Zhang Lao. "It's over. Everything's over." The first elder, second elder, and Mu Kun were ashen, collapsing on the ground, their powerful spiritual energy gone. This was worse than death for them. Their lives felt hopeless, and they regretted not treating Mu Yen better. If they'd been kinder, he wouldn't have left, and the family might have had a nascent soul, or even someone who reached godhood. The Mu family would have been the strongest around. And they wouldn't be in this miserable state. Too late now. What good was regret? Mu Yen, brother. Mu Tingting stared in the direction Mu Yen had gone, her eyes filled with loss and regret. If she could, she'd become his follower again, feeling his hand on her head, like a brother. Too bad she blew her chance. You never know what you've got until it's gone. She could never be the little girl beside Mu Yen again. Mu Yen and the others had no interest in their thoughts. They had already reached the foot of the Kunlun Holy Land. Gu Yingluo and Mu Lei could barely stand after landing. Zhang Lao had been so fast, they'd covered hundreds of miles in a blink. What they didn't know was that Zhang Lao had deliberately slowed down. Otherwise, with a true immortal's cultivation, thousands of miles would have been nothing. Mu Yen smiled at them and said, "Dad, Yingluo, welcome to Kunlun Holy Land. Are you ready for the climb?" After catching their breath, Mu Lei and Gu Yingluo were confused. Wasn't it just climbing the mountain to get into the Kunlun Holy Land? Did they need to be ready for something? Did it need that much preparation? Chapter 17 Mission Progress, Extra Rewards from the Blackmail System. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Soon, a few people showed up at the entrance to the Kunlun Holy Land. The sheer size of the gate left them speechless. It felt like they were staring up at a mountain. "Is this really just the gate?" Mu Lei blurted out, clearly impressed. He'd spent most of his life working for the Mu family and hadn't seen much of the world, especially not a real major sect. The Kunlun Holy Land's gate alone had blown him away. Gu Yingluo was equally astonished. Even the Golden Jade Sect's entrance isn't this impressive. Compared to the Kunlun Holy Land, it's nothing. Back in the Huangxian realm, the Golden Jade Sect was a big deal. Families dreamed of sending their kids there for training, but compared to this, it was like playing house. The size of the sign above the gate alone would put every sect in the Huangxian realm to shame. Seeing their reactions, Mu Yen smiled, amused. He hadn't been much different when he first arrived. "Alright, let's go. We can talk more once we're inside." Mu Yen led them through the gate. The moment they stepped into the Kunlun Holy Land, they felt it. The spiritual energy was at least 10 times stronger. They could see all sorts of rare plants thriving and spiritual beasts roaming freely through the forests. It was like something out of a fairy tale. The spiritual energy is incredible. One day of training here is worth a month anywhere else. Mu Lei's eyes widened as he looked around in amazement. He'd never seen anything like it. If he hadn't come himself, he wouldn't have believed such a place existed. Just taking a deep breath made him feel stronger. If you lived and trained here, even a pig could become enlightened, let alone a human. Gu Yingluo was speechless, just taking it all in. "I used to train in the Golden Jade Sect's most exclusive area. There was a spiritual vein and some powerful energy-gathering formations. The spiritual energy was about 4 times stronger than normal. And that was their most restricted area. Even core disciples like me only got to go once a year. This is easily better than the best they have. Guang Luo, having seen a bit more of the world, understood just how amazing the Kunlun Holy Land was. And this was just the public area. She couldn't imagine what the restricted training zones must be like. Mu Yan chuckled. This is nothing. Just wait until you see the rest. This is nothing. Guang Luo exclaimed in disbelief and hurried forward, eager to see more. Past the front hall was a huge courtyard, easily big enough for hundreds of thousands of people. And the spiritual energy was even stronger here. This is unreal. Guang Luo was beyond words. The palace complex was massive, and the concentration of spiritual energy was unbelievable. Being a handyman disciple sweeping the floor here was better than being the leader of the Golden Jade sect. I can practically taste the magic in the air. Mu Lei took exaggerated breaths, looking blissfully happy. Mu Yan rolled his eyes at his dad's over-the-top reaction. Seriously, Dad? Yener, can I stay here permanently? Mu Lei asked, his eyes pleading. He felt like his life had been worth it, just having such a successful son. Even a little bit of Mu Yan's glory would be enough for me. Guang Luo looked at him hopefully, her heart pounding. Mu Yan glanced at Zhang Lao, wanting his opinion, but the elder stayed silent, not wanting to interfere. Mu Yan, as the sect leader's top disciple, was far above an outer elder like him. Mu Yan could make the call on something like this, but he still wanted to get his master's approval first. Before he could contact Ye Chen, he heard his master's voice in his head. Bring your family to the main hall. Mu Yan bowed slightly towards the sky. As you command. He then led Guang Luo and Mu Lei toward the main hall. Inside, Ye Chen sat on his throne, surprised by a system notification. System, Great Disciple Mu Yan's mission completion rate is 80%. Receive reward. I thought the mission was done, since Mu Yan redeemed himself and took out some enemies. Why only 80%? Ye Chen didn't get it. He saw the situation with the Mu family clearly and didn't see anything wrong with what Mu Yan did. Was there something else? With only 80% completion, the rewards would be just okay, which was not what he wanted. Not yet. Ye Chen decided to wait. He realized the issue with the Golden Jade sect hadn't been resolved, which was why the task wasn't fully complete. If it was only the Mu family, it would be fine, but Jin Hao and Guang Luo showed up. Because Mu Yan killed Jin Hao, he'd created a problem with the Jinyu Zone. It was like the mission was still going on. System, how does that make sense? Are you deliberately making things harder for my disciples? What's your game? Ye Chen complained to the system. It would be great if they just handed out top rewards. Why make things so complicated? System, informing the host that this system is not a living being and therefore has no intentions. Talking back to me, huh? Have you forgotten how messed up your conditions for activating were? Don't you feel bad about that? Give me a good explanation, and I'll let it go. Ye Chen leaned back on his throne, acting like he was cutting the system a break. After a brief pause, the system spoke again. Due to insufficient consideration of details, the host will receive compensation in the form of a Qianzhang spiritual pool, complete with 10 spiritual springs. Seeing the extra reward, Ye Chen smirked. System, you know what's up. With a wave of his hand, the Qianzhang spiritual pool appeared in the back mountain, expanding the available space. 10 spiritual springs bubbled to the surface. The spiritual energy concentration of not just the back mountain, but the entire Kunlun Holy Land increased. A spiritual pool and 10-eyed springs of this size would spark a bloody war among the top powers. What about the mission difficulty? Explain that. Ye Chen continued to pressure the system. The system seemed prepared. The current 80% completion is equivalent to the original 100%. The extra 20% rewards will be given as a bonus. That's more like it. Ye Chen dismissed the system. Just then, Mu Yan led Mu Lei and Guang Luo into the hall. Chapter 18 Kunlun's Code of Conduct and Emperor-Level Qualifications for Recruiting Disciples. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Master, With deep respect, Mu Yan bowed to Ye Chen, who sat upon the throne. Mu Lei and Gu Luo, filled with curiosity, glanced up and were instantly stunned. The figure on the throne seemed impossibly large, rivaling the vastness of the starry sky. Behind him wasn't a hall, but a distant, swirling cosmos. His presence felt like the very birth of a universe. This soul-deep shock and awe was a completely new experience for them, but upon a second glance, the illusion vanished, revealing a young man who appeared even younger than Mu Yan. He possessed striking features, a flawless face, and an extraordinary aura. Every movement carried a profound Taoist charm. If one had to name the most handsome person in existence, it would undoubtedly be this youth. Is this Yenner's master? He's truly something else. Definitely a master recluse. Mu Lei lowered his gaze, not daring to look at Ye Chen any longer. Gu Luo felt the same. In her heart, Mu Yan had always been the epitome of handsomeness. But after seeing Ye Chen, she understood the true meaning of peak attractiveness. However, she didn't dare harbor any feelings of admiration for the figure above her, only awe and fear. Disciple, your performance on this family trip fell short of my expectations. Ye Chen's voice was calm and measured. Those words sent a chill through Mu Yan, as if a bucket of ice water had been dumped on him. It was my negligence, master. I beg your punishment. Though he didn't know the source of his master's dissatisfaction, kneeling and apologizing seemed the best course of action. Ye Chen continued, you killed the young master of the Jinyu Sect. Do you really think they'll let that slide? Hearing this, Mu Yan looked up, confused, unsure of his master's point. Though Mu Lei and Gu Luo kept their faces neutral, they were shocked. Mu Yan's master knows everything that happened with the Mu family. How is that possible? Seeing Mu Yan's confusion, Ye Chen sighed inwardly. It seemed his disciple was a bit dense, lacking in cunning. He had to spell it out. Instead of waiting for the Jinyu Sect to come knocking, why not take the fight to them? If you scare them into submission, who would dare hold a grudge? Mu Yan, Mu Lei, and Gu Luo were speechless. Attacked the Jinyu Sect. He, a mere golden core stage cultivator, was supposed to take on the Jinyu Sect head-on. Is that even feasible? Mu Yan had never considered such a thing. He'd always assumed he'd wait until he was stronger before dealing with them. His master's words were a revelation. Ye Chen patiently explained, disciple, the Kunlun Holy Land doesn't sit around and wait for death. Remember, whatever you do reflects on more than just yourself. When you're out in the world, you represent the entire Kunlun Holy Land. Do you understand? Ye Chen's words struck a chord within Mu Yan, and understanding dawned. He gets it. I understand. I was being too cautious. If I had the chance, I would wipe out the Jinyu Sect. Mu Yan's voice rang with conviction, his mind now clear, realizing where he'd gone wrong. Outwardly, he seemed like a forgettable golden core cultivator. The Jinyu Sect had countless fighters stronger than him. But, he represented the Kunlun Holy Land, and his master wouldn't let him get squashed. Seeing that Mu Yan grasped the Kunlun Holy Land's code of conduct, Ye Chen nodded, satisfied. In short, don't embarrass the sect when you're out there. After his master's careful instruction, Mu Yan felt enlightened and his admiration for Ye Chen deepened. He truly is a master. His thinking is on a different level. I still have much to learn. Mu Lei and Gu Luo were completely stunned by the exchange. In their minds, the Jinyu Sect was an untouchable behemoth. Avoiding them was the only option, not courting disaster, but Mu Yan's master was telling him to attack the Jinyu Sect to avoid bringing shame to the sect. And Mu Yan was actually listening. What kind of sect is this? However, they also realized that any other sect would be suicidal to do this, but the Kunlun Holy Land was mysterious and unpredictable, and truly might have this level of confidence. Mu Yan asked eagerly, Master, should I head out now? Ye Chen sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose. No need to rush. There's a genius exchange meeting in the Fulong Mountains tomorrow. We can go together. The system had given him a task to recruit disciples at the meeting. Timing-wise, it was set to begin tomorrow. Mu Yan was confused. Fulong Mountains. He'd heard of it, a distant place in the Luo Yu realm, not the Heaven realm. Several realms separated them. Why would his master want to go so far? But he didn't question it. If his master wanted him to follow, he would follow. Oh, right, master, this is my father, and this is my fiancé. I'd like them to stay at the sect. Is that possible? Mu Yen asked hesitantly. Ye Chen wouldn't concern himself with such trivial matters. The Kunlun Holy Land was vast, accommodating a few extra people was no problem. You are my chief disciple, second in status only to me. The decision is yours, Ye Chen replied, hearing his master's confidence in him. Mu Yen was ecstatic and bowed his thanks. Mu Lei and Gu Yingluo were thrilled. After resolving these matters, Ye Chen turned his attention to Gu Yingluo. He had already sensed her potential. Gu Yingluo possessed emperor-level talent. The supreme immortal body. Sadly, her immortal body was currently dormant. If activated, she could soar to unimaginable heights, with a small possibility of even becoming an immortal emperor in the future. However, the activation requirements were strict, and might not be achieved in a lifetime. Gu Yingluo, would you be willing to become my disciple? Ye Chen asked with a smile. Gu Yingluo, usually so nervous and reserved, didn't expect this powerful figure to speak to her directly. Did she hear correctly? He wants to take her as his disciple. For Gu Yingluo, it was like being struck by a mountain of treasure. Her mind was reeling, and she was as still as a log. If Mu Yen hadn't tugged on her sleeve, she might not have believed it was real. Thump. Realizing this incredible opportunity, Gu Yingluo quickly knelt and kowtowed with joy. This girl was so earnest, the floor tiles nearly cracked with each bow. Disciple Gu Yingluo, greetings, master. Gu Yingluo exclaimed, ding. The host has accepted a disciple with emperor-level potential. Distributing system rewards. Chapter 19. Double the reward and go to the Genius Exchange meeting. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Reward 2 Immortal King summoning cards. Reward a Chaos Realm. Reward a God of War Palace. Reward an Emperor-level skill, Tai Shang Immortal Suppressing Technique. Reward a 1,000-foot underground spiritual vein. Reward an Emperor-level sect protecting formation, the Zhoutian Star Formation. The system flooded Ye Chen with rewards after he successfully recruited a disciple. He hadn't expected such a haul. Emperor-level disciples are a whole different ballgame. The rewards blow immortal-level ones out of the water. Emperor-level is the top tier, with immortal-level qualifications a step below. Mu Yen was born with the best fire spirit root, putting him at the immortal level. Ye Chen helped him improve to the emperor-level holy body of flame spirit, but the rewards were still based on his initial immortal-level qualification. Gu Yingluo, however, was the real deal. She possessed genuine emperor-level qualifications as an undeveloped supreme immortal body. Mu Yen, you lucky dog. Not as valuable as your old lady. Ye Chen glared at Mu Yen, making him jump. Had he messed up again? Yingluo, from today, you're my second direct disciple. Mu Yen is your senior brother, Ye Chen said, smiling. He. Senior brother Mu Yen, I'm your junior sister now. You gotta protect me and teach me everything. Gu Yingluo playfully teased Mu Yen. He was thrilled. The couple now shared a master, and their relationship was secure. Yingluo, this is a technique from your master. It'll do you good. Ye Chen tossed a ball of light into her hands. Even before looking, she felt an immense power surging inside, gentle and close, not at all threatening. Mu Yen, who'd been through this, swallowed hard, already suspecting what kind of technique it was. With the master's touch, there were no small gifts. The light faded, revealing a scroll. Tai Shang Immortal Suppression Technique was written on its surface. Just the sight of those words radiated overwhelming power. It claimed to suppress even immortals. How powerful was that? The emperor-level marking at the end stunned Gu Yingluo. She gasped, her wide eyes popping. Emperor-level exercises? Am I dreaming? She blinked repeatedly. It was real, an emperor-level technique. Shock, surprise, and excitement filled her. she was currently practicing a king-level technique from the Jinyu Sect, considered high-end. The Mu family would be lucky to have a Xian-level skill, let alone king-level, emperor-level skills. Unthinkable. If this Taishang immortal suppression technique appeared outside, it would ignite a storm across the entire Dongxing continent, and the master just gave it to her like it was nothing. Thank you, master. Gu Yingluo's voice trembled. Mu Yan puffed out his chest. Yingluo, junior sister, your senior brother here practices an emperor-level skill too. What? Also emperor level. Gu Yingluo was overjoyed, her gratitude to Ye Chen deepening. Their fate had been rewritten. As her father, Mu Lei couldn't help but envy his son and future daughter-in-law having emperor-level skills, but he knew he wasn't a disciple of the Kunlun Holy Land, so he couldn't expect equal treatment. Just living and practicing here was enough. Before you start practicing, I want to fully unlock your physique's potential. That'll make your progress skyrocket. Ye Chen said, pointing at Gu Yingluo, and an invisible force worked on her. Countless laws of the great Tao appeared and poured into her body. Her supreme immortal body began to awaken, lines of white light appearing, and all meridians fully opened. The complete supreme immortal body was formed, and the surrounding aura rushed into her body like a raging river. The terrifying speed shocked everyone, including Mu Yan. His flame spirit holy body wasn't this intense. What kind of physique did Yingluo even have? Gu Yingluo felt completely different. Cultivation problems that plagued her were gone. Even without trying, the aura of heaven and earth flowed into her. Even standing still, she cultivated faster than when she trained hard at the Jinyu Sect. So this is my true potential. Gu Yingluo was amazed. Mu Yan, take them to their residence. Don't forget about the genius exchange meeting at Fulong Mountains tomorrow, Ye Chen said, disappearing. He reappeared under the enlightenment tea tree in the back mountain to review his rewards. 2 Immortal King summoning cards. Summon. Ye Chen used them immediately. Immortal Kings were powerful individuals, second only to Immortal Emperors. 2 Immortal Kings would make him untouchable in the great world of desolate immortals. Their arrival would put even million-year-old holy lands on high alert. The void warped, and 2 figures appeared, radiating power. 2 middle-aged men, both at the peak of Immortal King strength. Without an Immortal Emperor, they were invincible. Greetings, Sect Leader. I'm Black Dragon. Sect Master Qi, I am by long. That they bowed respectfully. Good, stay within the sect. Ye Chen nodded and dismissed them. The second reward was the Chaos Realm. It was a small world in the process of creation, the most primitive state, with the clearest laws of the great Tao. Entering the Chaos Realm to witness the world's evolution and understand those laws was incredibly beneficial, coveted even by immortal emperors. When Ye Chen merged with Hongmeng's original body, it caused terrifying visions and countless laws to appear, drawing the attention of powerful figures who gained insights. Materialize. Ye Chen commanded. A black hole-like sphere hung over Kunlun Holy Land, the Chaos Realm, allowing anyone to witness the evolution of the laws. The third reward was the God of War Palace. Its function was simple, to let people fight themselves or other powerful figures. Injuries wouldn't carry over to reality. Death in the palace only meant exiting, with no harm to the body. For those who loved fighting, the God of War Palace was a godsend. The fourth reward was a 1,000-foot underground spiritual vein. Its purpose was self-explanatory. Monks gathered where spiritual veins existed, even building sections. A 1,000-foot spiritual vein was invaluable. Ye Chen buried it deep with a wave of his hand, constantly nourishing Kunlun Holy Land. The spiritual energy in the Holy Land doubled instantly and continued to grow. The final reward was the Emperor-level Zhoutian Star Formation, a sect-protecting formation. It was both offensive and defensive. Even an Immortal Emperor would struggle to break it. Deployment. With a wave, Ye Chen deployed the formation, covering the entire Kunlun Holy Land. Stars occasionally appeared in the sky. This was the strongest, most secure protection for the sect. Despite its small size, Kunlun Holy Land was now impenetrable. The next day, Ye Chen appeared outside the hall in a Taoist guise. Today was the Genius Exchange meeting at Fulong Mountain, and he was looking forward to it. Ideally, he'd recruit more Emperor-level disciples to strengthen the sect. Chapter 20 Disappointed Su Lingyun. There is no genius here. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mu Yan and Guing Luo had been waiting, too. As soon as they saw their master, they rushed over. Fulong Mountains in the falling moon realm, here we come. Ye Chen waved his hand, a mysterious power enveloping them. He ripped through space, stepped in with his two disciples, and vanished. Their departure from Kunlun Holy Land sent shockwaves through the entire Jinyu Sect. News of the young sect leader's death spread like wildfire, leaving disciples and elders alike in disbelief. Who would dare kill the young sect leader in the Huangxian realm? Did the killer not realize they were provoking the entire Jinyu Sect? Who could withstand the full force of a sect's wrath? Rumor had it that the sect leader had been in a blind rage all night, his roars echoing from the sect leader's hall, shaking the Jinyu Sect to its core. The world was about to change. Inside the sect leader's hall, the top brass of the Jinyu Sect had assembled. Each of them radiated power, a Taoist aura swirling around them. Even the weakest among them was a master. Perched on the throne was a middle-aged man, radiating a palpable aura of death. This was the sect leader, Jinyu Sect. His son, Jin Hao, was gone. Grief and rage fueled his vengeance, and he vowed to kill everyone even remotely connected to the murderer. My son had a nascent soul protector with him. To kill them, the murderer would have to be at the peak of nascent soul, or even higher. We can't rule out foul play from a rival sect. Trying to stir things up. Elder Qin, investigate those rival sects. Find the most suspicious one. Elderly, retrace our steps from that day. Find any clue, leave no stone unturned. Sect leader Jinyu Sect roared, his voice filled with grief and fury. He'd rather kill 1,000 innocent people than let the guilty one go free. With Jinyu Sect's orders, the Jinyu Sect mobilized, led by two elders to hunt down the killer. The falling moon realm was about the same size as the Huangxian realm. Recently, the Fulong Mountains had been buzzing with activity. The falling moon realm genius exchange meeting was about to begin, and talented hopefuls flocked there for the chance to join powerful sects. Several influential sects in the falling moon realm were watching closely. Did you hear? Jinyu Sword Sect is only taking 10 people this year. Maybe we'll get lucky. Getting into Jinyu Sword Sect would be a dream. I'm pulling for Haran Pavilion. They say the Earth Immortal Ancestor is in charge there. You can't get any more stable than that. Why not Treasure Judgment Heavenly Sect? They're the richest in the falling moon realm, besides the Holy Land. It's easy street in there. Conversations like this were common in the Fulong Mountains, whether it was Haran Pavilion, Jubao Tianzong, or Jinyu Sword Sect, they were all strong. Even joining as an outer disciple would be an incredible stroke of luck. Honestly, compared to Falling Moon Holy Land, those sects are nothing. If you could get into Falling Moon Holy Land, that's a sign of ultimate divine favor. Someone mentioned Falling Moon Holy Land, but he was met with scoffs from the crowd. Falling Moon Holy Land? Come on. This is a holy land. Would they come here to recruit disciples? They wouldn't take someone like you in a million years. Exactly. Falling Moon Holy Land is a top holy land in Dongxing continent. Only true geniuses get in. Are we really qualified? But when they talked about Falling Moon Holy Land, they spoke with yearning and respect. It was the only holy land in the Falling Moon realm and one of the top 10 in Dongxing continent. It had been around for centuries and was something everyone dreamed of. However, Falling Moon Holy Land wouldn't lower itself to a genius exchange meeting to recruit disciples. Nearby, two beautiful women were strolling around, and overheard the conversation. One of them, a girl of maybe 16, smirked and said, "Sister, they have no idea that people from Falling Moon Holy Land are already here." That the younger girl didn't understand. But what are we even doing here? This is just a regular exchange meet. What could we possibly find? The girl called senior sister looked a little older, maybe in her 20s. Yao, geniuses can come from anywhere. Don't forget that I was picked up by our master along the way. I didn't come from a fancy family. As the senior sister, Su Lingyun explained to her junior sister, Tao Yao, the younger girl, Tao Yao, nodded, but she was more interested in the food and entertainment nearby. there wasn't much like this back at Falling Moon Holy Land. The Fulong Mountains Genius Exchange meet was in full swing, and Ye Chen led his 2 disciples into the space. The air was alive. So many people, Guing Luo exclaimed happily. Mu Yan, after grooming his hair, glanced around and humbly approached Ye Chen. Master, would you mind if I took Ying Luo for a walk? Ye Chen just rolled his eyes and agreed. Go on, just don't get lost. Master, with you here, how could I get lost? Mu Yan grabbed his fiancée's hand and disappeared into the crowd. Ye Chen knew exactly where he was going. He headed straight for the most crowded spot. According to his investigation, the most promising candidate for a disciple was there, an emperor-level talent. The main event of the Genius Exchange meet was the qualification test. A wide-open space had several huge stone platforms. 9 stars were carved into the stone. This was the star platform, specially designed to test talent. If you placed your palm on the star platform, the corresponding stars would light up. The more stars, the higher the talent. You generally need at least 5 stars to get noticed by the sects and accepted as a disciple. Even though Fulong Mountains was packed with young people, maybe hundreds of millions, only a few could light up 5 stars. Su Lingyun and Tao Yaoyao from Falling Moon Holy Land were also watching the tests, but were becoming increasingly disappointed. Sister, the best we've seen is 7 stars. These people are terrible. Tao Yaoyao pouted, looking bored. Anyone less than 9 stars wasn't worth their time. Su Lingyun sighed. Let's give it another 15 minutes. It looks like a bust. There are no real geniuses here. Just as they were about to leave, Su Lingyun felt something and looked in a certain direction. What caught her eye was a handsome young man, tall and with an easy gait. He was wearing plain clothes, but he had an unmistakable presence. When she first looked at him, she felt like she was looking at an endless starry sky, deep and vast. Who is that? Su Lingyun's gaze cut through the crowd and landed on Ye Chen.